Now, tonight we're talking about crowdfunding. We have Eli Andreas, an expert in crowdfunding, who's going to guide us through. And again, we're here in Bali, Indonesia, where, again, you've got millions of people, about 300 million, not far from it, 280 million to be precise. And we have, 17,000 plus islands, 700 plus cultures, 500 plus languages, average age of 27. You have incredible opportunity, extraordinary opportunity throughout Indonesia. We're in Bali, which is one of the gateways to Indonesia. Why is it a gateway? Because it essentially contributes somewhere less than 3% of GDP of this great nation. But when it comes to tourism, it's 70% plus, right? So just think about that. So it's a gateway to Indonesia. Now, in Indonesia, there are many expats, locals, which come either to visit Bali or to live in Bali, short-term or long-term, and many of which have started businesses or would like to start businesses, from community-type projects like GWA Community Garden. I think I just gave them a plug. Didn't mind that at all. All the way through, to larger developments. So it's very difficult in emerging markets to raise capital. So crowdfunding offers a global solution to a local problem. That's one of the reasons why tonight's episode is extremely important, because then there's many people in the audience tonight. There's maybe 10, 20% of them who are currently doing crowdfunding projects and probably making a lot of mistakes, which are going to cost them money and time and energy. So I always feel that if you could speak to an expert, glean some of those nuggets of wisdom, it can save you a lot of time, energy, money. So with that kind of view, that kind of gaze, let's just give a quick round of applause again to our brother Eli Andreas. I'm going to give him a bit of a plug. So, founder of IMPCTFUL, that's IMPCTFUL without an A, in case you're wondering, raised 2 million plus through crowdfunding. Creator of Teak, that's T-E-K. Tiki, that's good. T-E-K-E. Featured in Wired. That's 500K in the first year they raised. Award-winning filmmaker, campaigns for Samsung, Google, Vice, and Ridley Scott Agency. VR director, Tribeca, and the VIFF, right? So again, what I like about you, which we're going to get into, is that it's not that this guy kind of popped out with an idea that he's going to become a crowdfunding extraordinaire. He went through so many different incarnations, which each one contributed to the journey that he has now and the success of why it is a success now. Some of the key takeaways, what niches work best for crowdfunding success, the biggest growth hacks to amplify reach pledges, and then when to launch. So timing your campaign for maximum impact. So look, let's just get straight into it. My name is Robert Ian Bonnick, but you know that already. Founder of SpeakuP Monday, gateway to Indonesia, 3 award-winning initiatives. One is called SpeakuP Monday, which you're watching now. Another one is called RIB and Associates, which is a gateway to Indonesia for companies wanting to move to Indonesia or expand within Indonesia. And the other one is Tourism Architect, which works specifically with tourism boards, both national and local, on specific targeted tourism solutions. So, Brother Eli, this has taken us about 3 years, because I think the first time we met was probably 3 or 4 years ago. But what I'd love to get started on, even though we're going to talk about crowdfunding, is just this start that you had in life, right? So maybe not the whole thing, because we'll break it up into chunks, but maybe, let's kind of start off with that funny story you told me before about the relationship with your mom and where things started.
Yeah, so I grew up very much a hippie nomad, traveling with my mom, living on communes, traveling North America, pretty much as cliche hippie wanderlust you can imagine. Got thrown into school late, hated school and normal life, and very much rebelled. Then later had a talent agency at a young age that led me to put a camera in my hand. That turned into music videos. Getting into the music industry, being signed by Sony briefly, then quit the music industry, got into VR tech, and essentially eventually got teamed up with some of my Chinese friends who were manufacturing tech products. Started doing videos for them. We raised a lot of money together. At some point, I decided, I'm pretty good at making these campaigns. Maybe I'll try to make a product. And that product did really, really well just before COVID. And since then, I've been traveling, meeting really interesting people around the world, and yeah, working on projects all around the world with really cool people.
You know, the interesting thing, thank you, by the way, the thing which makes me smile about you, it's this thing that you never judge a book by the cover, right? So, so even though I knew there was more to you, uh, again, like from the way that perhaps people might see you, kind of you may look at this guy who's pretty. What you see is kind of what you get. Kind of keeps the cards close to the chest, right? But you had this phenomenally gifting careers, music, visual effects, creative. Ridley Scott, like working for some of the best in the industry, guitarist and vocals, right? As you said before, in a band. These things are what most people call an extroverted tendency, right? Can be. If I asked you this one, so the difference between an introvert and an extrovert, what would you say that is, and how would you describe yourself given those two parameters?
Well, my parents always thought I was going to be like a famous rock star, and I decided being on stage wasn't really like I didn't have a lot of fun with it. First time on camera, I like being behind the camera, but I'm extroverted in the way that like my art and my creations are basically my message out into the world, and I love product because that's a way for many people to enjoy a little piece of you and to use your art. So I view myself as an artist. I think most artists are fairly introverted. They create and then they put out their work into the world. And my work just happens to be tech products, fashion apparel, or helping other people put their products in.
One of the things I've noticed that comes up every now and again. I'm introvert, extrovert, ambivert, whatever you want to call it. And I love both. The introvert is really powerful because it's an opportunity to listen and to really pay attention, to see trends, to see patterns, and to ask the right questions. Extrovert's great because it allows you to shift the energy around the room, so on and so on and so on. Perhaps the reason why, because as you know, I don't script these, but is I find that some people who are watching are stopped by that one thing. They think that well, I'm not this extrovert or I'm not this introvert, therefore I can't have success doing this. And to me, you break the mold that way. And you've said, and you know, I agree that a lot of artists are introverted, and their work speaks for themselves. I just think it's a really valid and powerful point, and that you're a walking example of that. Inspirational show as well, right? So look, let's dive into crowdfunding. So there are some questions here that people have, and I would love to just to get to these. So with crowdfunding, firstly, going back, how would you describe it? And after that, how would you decide, if so, which niche you would get into? Or would you just say, I'm interested in this and I'm going to do it either way?
Well, I mean, from talking to most people here tonight, it sounds like everyone already has their idea. They know what they want, and they're trying to now, find their audience and leverage. So I'll skip the finding your idea. That can while and be pretty non-tangible. But in terms of leveraging your audience and what is crowdfunding? Crowdfunding is basically contacting many people, putting your product or idea out in front of those people via a platform, a video, an email, a presentation, and then asking something for from them, whether it be an investment, a pre-order discount. Maybe it's simply for them to share or collaborate in the promotion of that product. And in terms of whether or not it's the right fit for you, I think anything can work. The more niche and maybe rarefied it is, probably the more you're going to need to rely on your own community or communities that you have not yet accessed. Probably spending Facebook ads might not be the best solution if it's incredibly unique and maybe not within categories that work. And I'll talk about work later. Um, And for the products that do work, you're probably going to have more confidence in spending money on marketing, spending more money on PR and basically just making the very, very best pitch that you possibly can, and essentially going a lot bigger. You can do a lot with a little, but if you have a really good product that kind of checks all the boxes, I would definitely suggest spending more money because you'll stick out and you'll get more of a return.
Checks all the most of the boxes. What kind of boxes would you say check?
Number one, if you don't have a community, you don't have an email list, you don't have money, you're gonna have to, leverage one of those things in order to be successful. If you have all three, amazing. Maybe you have a terrible idea. Maybe you don't want to launch that idea with all three of them. If you've got a great idea and you have even one of those things checked off, your project can still raise over 6 figures. I've had many people with very unique ideas, and they may not have any money, but they have a really good community. I have other people with not so good ideas, and they have a lot of money and no community. And sometimes it'll take some massaging and some tweaking of how to find market fit for the idea before they spend a lot of money or invest a lot of time launching. In terms of just what works really well on Kickstarter specifically, tech products, gadgets, the Kickstarter audience is 25 to 45. I've launched tech and gadgets on Kickstarter, even fashion apparel, that it fits that market with no marketing budget, and Kickstarter alone can provide, just the people that are Kickstarter backers, they can provide enough money on your campaign raise just by itself, just simply by putting up a good campaign. Sometimes you'll see like the backer list, and there'll be backers who've backed 1,000 projects, which is unbelievable to me to think that someone's sitting out there just they must have been on Kickstarter for years, just backing something every week. There is a ravenous community on Kickstarter that likes to find those products. If it's not within that realm, perhaps you need a little bit more advice, a little bit more time to find the community or the right market fit.
I mean, from what it sounds like, there are some common denominators, as you mentioned, and what you bring to it is critical. But maybe if we go to the side, right? So people probably watching this and they're thinking about, do I do video? Do I do written text? Do I do a combination of the do I use AI, right? And if so, because it might be difficult for them to gauge not only the level of interest from the target market, but also what kind of words, what kind of images, what kind of feelings and emotions can they create in the mind of the potential investor. So what comes up for you when I kind of bring these things?
So for anyone looking who's trying to do an investor campaign, that would be WeFunder, which is really for equity and investment. Kickstarter is for products, ideas. Products tend to do the best, but people are usually buying a product for a discount. You can do other ways of it. They might not work so well, but that's typically the two buckets. And I'm trying to think, sorry, raise that question.
Yeah. So then when it comes to the use of AI.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So testing your idea previous to the campaign. I'm sure if you already have a business and maybe it has users, you've already done this already, so you're going to be a lot ahead of someone who maybe hasn't done any testing. Typically, I would recommend you you already have your website. If you don't have a website, make a website. You can make an entire new one, or you can use something like ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is really good to like A/B test your landing page and figure out what people are responding to when they visit your landing page. Typically, we'll make a ClickFunnel for every Kickstarter campaign, and that will tell us, what images people are responding to, what titles, what copy, what price. We'll look at the retention on the video, and that kind of pre-campaign testing will inform everything that we put in front of people for the final launch. In terms of AI, and use AI for, if you don't have money to shoot a video or your product at that time. ChatGPT just released a great new update with Sora. So now you can take your product, if it's physical, for example, and you can put that in the hands of your model or on a rock on a beach, and it will render really amazing reproductions of that product pretty much perfectly now, this as of like last month. So I've been using that and testing that a lot, and it's incredible what you can do. I mean, at this point, you could pretty much make a Kickstarter video and all of your graphics and images and copy with ChatGPT and start running tests in a week.
Yeah. Take a breath, everybody. Or maybe that's just me. Just a few things. ClickFunnels. Does everyone know what ClickFunnels is? If you don't, raise your hand. ClickFunnels. Good. If people here don't know, so we're going to go into ClickFunnels in a second. And when it comes to, let's do that first. Yeah. So describe ClickFunnels for everyone.
Yeah, so ClickFunnels is basically a really fast way of making landing pages, and it also gives you the ability to really quickly develop multiple landing pages and flows, and you can determine. It will give you basically statistics on all of those flows, and that might be a little bit harder if you're doing a WordPress. It's a little bit more manual. ClickFunnels just allows you to rapidly iterate and get that information quickly. And it also helps you just whip things up very, very fast as well.
Okay, so just to quickly wrap up that part, or to sum it up, what you're saying is that, yeah, so even regardless of which, we'll go general, which niche or area that you're targeting, test first. And by test first can come in different forms, but a good way to do it is a landing page, drive people to, and then how they respond to that subsect of your potential customers. How they respond to that will give you lots of data points, and those data points will let you know, which areas maybe you're doing really well, which areas you're not doing so well. So you're going to do this A/B testing for as long as you need to, I guess. And once you're comfortable, that's when you add the money and the budget, and that's when you push it out there. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can, for the ClickFunnels, you can run just simple meta ads. You can also send it to friends and family or people that you admire, their opinion. And then as well, if you want to go even broader, you can use a tool like Apollo or Hunter.io that basically has all of LinkedIn databased, and you can get anybody you can imagine's business phone number, their email. You can build massive lists from companies or stores or groups that you might think that would be interested in it, and you can send them an email saying, "Hey, I'd love for you to check this out," or develop a relationship with that person. Many people might be doing hundreds. But I used that when I launched one of my Kickstarters. That's how I got the Wired feature. It didn't happen for 2.5 years, but I sent that first email like 2020 using one of those services, and they probably watched me over the course of 2 years, like do the Kickstarter, release Kickstarter, and then eventually in 2022, like, or actually maybe even 3 years, I was in Bali on my birthday, like the day before my birthday, and Wired called me up and was like, "Hey, we want to put your Tiki product in our magazine as a featured photography tool," and they didn't charge me a single dollar. They just basically had watched me for that long. So you never know when those initial emails might come back around. Those people may not be ready to interact with you, but a lot of people will continue watching you doing something good. That can be.
So terrible question about to come, but but I don't mind. Uh, oh, and it's a difficult one in a way, probably. So, how much money, could be the cheapest that someone maybe here in the audience, they haven't got a lot of money. ClickFunnels can be quite expensive. I hear. I hear. Um, but what's the minimum number you think is viable? Person can really get a good feeling for their campaign.
If your idea fits, what Kickstarter's market is, like I said, you can put up that campaign and you will raise, 20, 30, $40,000 just based on Kickstarter's traffic. If you don't need a lot of money, maybe that's enough for you. You can do that. how much money it takes to shoot the video or take the pictures or make the landing page. It depends if you use Upwork, Fiverr, your brother, your sister. Obviously, if you're the more resourceful, it could cost you nothing. I tended, when I first started, I did a lot of things myself because I did so many, so it really helped do that. And I've seen Kickstarters people shoot on their cell phone and take all the content on their cell phone and launch products that fit the market for Kickstarter, and they've done 60, 70, $80,000 just off their phone. You don't need to shoot an amazing video, it just needs to be a good video. And I think I missed the other part of your question before was uh, definitely selling people the dream or the experience, or get them off the couch with whatever the product's going to be life, and kind of standard marketing stuff. Speak to what that experience is going to do for them and what they're going to get out of it. They don't really care as much about the founders. You'd think that everybody wants a really transparent founder video, but actually, I found that videos that just show off the adventure, the experience with a professional voiceover, those videos tend to hit really hard. And you can test all of those things with Facebook ads previously. You'll see based on the Facebook ads very quickly, you'll spend $100 on one style and $100 on another, and you're gonna get a lot more for a certain type. You can get all that data before you actually launch.
It's amazing, hey, because I mean, I've been saying to people recently that people are becoming more transparent, right? Who's behind this? Who's doing this? But as you said, on these campaigns, it's about the quality of the strength and how much that video pulls you in.
Yeah.
Powerful. Any other growth hacks that come into mind? Maybe one, two, or three.
Yeah, I mean, automation, definitely. AI, definitely. The ability to scale your content, your outreach. Obviously, a lot of AI and automation can fall within the gray area of, spam or unwanted solicitation. Skype, when they first launched, they basically remarketed all their customers, and when people signed up for Skype, they took all of the people that they were adding on Skype and then retargeting them to be Skype customers. So, it's up to you how guerrilla you want to go. In terms of actual tools, there is Phantom Buster is a really good tool for automation. It will. I use another one called Growbot. Growbot was really amazing. I think I raised, in terms of dollar to dollar, it costs $8 a month, and you can set your Growbot to your competitor's Instagram page, and every time your competitor gets a follower, your Growbot will add that follower and like their last 5 pictures or 10 pictures. And I've done that with a lot of different products that have really cool, really clear competitors, and had no ads on whatsoever, and seen orders coming in from those people. And if your product has a better price or a better angle, that can be a super effective way, kind of a hacky way of getting new customers with very little budget.
I hope you're taking a pen, taking some advice here. I remember when I first started to listen to these sorts of growth hacks. I think it was part of me. Like, how could you just set up a bot? It goes to this guy's email, and then you just. But at the end of the day, I think one comment rings in my ears the loudest, and it's like, human versus human is based upon skills, right? Human versus AI. Human versus human plus AI. Who's going to win? Right? So just a quick raise of hands. Who here is using AI in some way, shape, or form? Raise your hand. Most. Who is not using AI? Just be okay. All right. 1 or 2. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay. Whew. So when it comes to things that can go wrong, right? So there's been a few people which are probably here in the audience. Maybe they've followed some of those steps. They haven't had success, and they're kind of in no man's land or no woman's land. And, they're kind of, the years are ticking on, and they're not getting anywhere. So very general question again, not non-specific. But in general, you've been approached by these sorts of campaigns. what have been some of the most commonly addressed challenges or things that they were just not doing that led to a very mediocre result?
Yeah, I mean the main one is just not having validated your idea. You know, making sure like that people have either offered you or are willing to pay for that service or product. If people haven't yet tried to pay you for that, you might want to get a couple pre-orders or send it to some people and launch some ads and see if people are willing to click on the buy button or click on the pre-order button for 50% off. Validating that people are willing to click purchase is the biggest one. After you've crossed that threshold, it's just a matter of like, you know, how much money or effort do you need to spend to get people to click on the purchase button? If your cost per acquisition is larger than your margin, you have not yet validated your product. So the bigger the margin, the more you can spend on acquiring those customers. Um, Smaller margin items are very, very hard to, to be on, especially if you have to worry about shipping or you have hidden manufacturing costs. Um, in terms of the largest mess ups, even after having checked all those boxes, I would say just manufacturing or building in general with people that you haven't gotten referrals for or haven't, if you know no one who has worked with those people, don't work with them and don't spend your money with them because you probably will either get taken for a ride. They're not going to tell you the things that you need to know before you start because they're collecting a paycheck. And they might be a very good business, but I personally would never work with anybody that I don't know who has worked with. So I'd always do your background research before you dive in with an engineering firm or a larger agency that you're going to be spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars with. I've seen, even personally, I have started projects that I had a paper prototype for, and it seemed good, and the agency said all the right things, and then 6 months down the road, uh, they're asking me questions then that I would have thought they would have asked me on day one. So I think I am a pessimist, a daily pessimist, and a lifetime optimist.
Oh,
I'm a rain cloud at the meeting, but like I'm the one shooting for the stars. So I'm trying to make sure that the ship gets there, but you don't know who you're working with, and just because they have a flashy company or a great ad or a great story, definitely do where you're spending big. You're not spending big bucks. Maybe you just waste your time, and maybe
5 minutes time, we're going to have questions, okay? So if you have a question, maybe you've written it down, maybe put it on your phone. If you haven't, take the next 5 minutes to think about the question. One of the reasons that I got you to speak on the mic earlier on is so you know how to speak. Okay. So please raise your hand. One of these mics will come to you. Remember to hold it close to your mouth. Okay. Well, we've spoken about the general kind of rules of crowdfunding. We've spoken about the importance of ensuring that your market test for that. Make sure before you put money in, to really take the time to test. You've spoken about, that if it's a very particular niche, I think people were saying earlier on, oh, it's very, very niche, it's easier, but from what you're saying, it's not necessarily because you need to really have that community down pat in that niche. So, which suggests that a more general niche may be better for you. All right. You've spoken about some growth hacks, which would be important for people to know. Spoken about some of the problems that face in general on the broad brushstrokes. And then we've spoken about, do your research on who is, doing your work. So you mentioned Upwork, you mentioned Fiverr. I think some people here won't know who they are. So maybe it's a good time just to quickly let people know what Upwork and Fiverr is.
yeah. I mean, I assume you all know or work on one. Fiverr is like kind of your dollar store version of Upwork, where you can work with many different types of graphic designers or coders, just kind of pre-build whatever your online digital needs. And you can develop a really good team on Fiverr. I think Upwork is kind of my go-to. I tend to find better people on there who have a larger resume, and they might be a little bit more expensive, but not that much, depending. And I'll hire things on there like maybe it is different style of landing page or a different style of ads, or I'll test out different designers for PSD to Figma, or if there's new tools that are come out, I might see how many people are using them on the website, and then find a specialist, like run some tests before I dive in and commit a bunch of time or team. Got a early question?
Yeah, so just in about 3 or 4 minutes, but we will give you the microphone. So, Brother Guz, when you're ready, Max over here, raise your hand, Max. Yeah.
And all of this stuff is pretty general. I mean, I have a 2-hour presentation on my life that I gave last year, and I think that was more of a biography than helpful advice. But I am doing another event here in like a week and a half, 23rd, where it'll be more of like a circle where you kind of dive deeper and chat afterwards.
And look, so just before we get to questions, 2 questions from me. So one is, how long these campaigns generally take? But again, you hear this person raising 100,000, 20,000, 60,000, 300,000, but what's 500,000? What's an average, if there's such period of time that it takes? And are there, does it always start in a certain way and then hit bootstraps, or is it all change? What's the curve like?
I've done enough of them now in different seasons, tested kind of like lower hanging fruit. Worst season, typically, the summer is really hard time to market to people because they're out and about and spending all their money, especially in like northern climates. So the summer is just a bad time in general to trying to sell or contact people. Um, I would say your shoulder seasons, like September to December, obviously prime time for shopping. September is usually when the really big people go out on Kickstarter, and it will take anywhere from 2 to 3 months pre-marketing previous to the campaign for you to hit those big numbers. More time, the better, obviously. But if you spend 30 days previous to the campaign, you're hoping to hit 30% of what you achieve in those first 3 days or week. After that first week, you're going to see it kind of go down because you might have offered a really good deal at the start, and usually it's going to go up and then it's going to go down, and then near the end of the campaign, it's going to start to you should ideally raise the same amount at the end as you do at the beginning, depending on the level of discount. And again, this is product specific for Kickstarter. Investment's completely different, but um, yeah, I'd say September to December is prime time. You're going to be fighting for eyeballs, but it is when people are kind of unloading their pockets for products. And then if you do it January to March, depending if your product is seasonal, you might have less competition. So it actually might be advantageous for you to launch it from January to March with a longer campaign, because there'll be less people on Kickstarter, like with other campaigns, and sometimes people will have more money for things that they otherwise wouldn't have purchased during the holidays. So depending on the product, you might have more time to actually warm those people up and turn them into.
So as Eli, have you got the microphone yet? No. So Goose, yeah, if you get the microphone, yeah, it's over there. Okay. So you can just wait for 1 second. So as Eli said, and we'll let you say it again. So there's going to be another opportunity here at Tropical Nomad. So if you're in Bali, you should come to Tropical Nomad on the date that he's about to give you, and this will be like a round table session. So it won't be online like this one is. It'll be a round table session where you kind of really get to pick his brain, right, on campaigns, what you're doing, how you're doing it, should it change, and so on and so on and so on. Now, the reason why we decided to do it tonight is because SpeakuP has a wider audience, and as I mentioned before, in the preamble, raising funds in emerging countries or developing countries or mature countries, depending where you are, can be very difficult. And every other week I get asked, do you know someone who can raise X amount of funds? Do you know someone? So then crowdfunding, if done correctly, can be enough to start you off as a startup.
Yeah, so I can give you some numbers. I didn't really say any numbers, but like like a local company here, Pangea. They make recycled products. They had a massive user list. They've launched many Kickstarters, and they wanted to launch another Kickstarter, but didn't want to spend much money on marketing. But they have a really cool vision. They help clean local rivers and recycle the plastic into amazing products with really amazing margins. And they launched very quickly, 30 days to launch. And they had a huge subscriber list, and they raised close to 30,000 in 72 hours, and that's just based off of their initial customer. Now the trick is going to be finding new customers during the middle, and then retargeting all those people at the end. So that's very quick, very no marketing, and all customer users. I've had other campaigns with like tech products that are a little bit more gadgety. Typically, you'll spend 10 to 20K to get a really good promotion and a good push. Those people, they've been building their product for a year or two previous. They'll start their campaign 3 months before it launches, and they'll get those really big, news articles and partners on board to help the launch. And all of those, they do 250,000 in 30 days. Then they put on, it rolls over to Indiegogo. They might do another 250,000 on Indiegogo in another 30 days. Then they might roll over to Shopify or to WeFunder for investments. Typically, what happens if you launch something that hits 6 figures very quickly, you're going to start getting calls from venture capital or just investors, and yes, you might consider taking that money and starting a WeFunder afterward.
So we've spoken about, and coming to you in a second, Max. Too long, mate. Spoken a bit about tech products. Then we've spoken Kickstarter. Spoken about WeFunder for investments. And what about the soft, what I would call this way, the soft endeavors? Raising money for an orphanage, raising money for a charity, raising money because it's an eco project, right? So these sorts of softer eco being, look, we got Jiwa Garden, second plug, right? Jiwa Garden, community garden, a very good one, right? And they're raising, but if they were raising, so these types of non-mainstream types of campaigns, is there any advice that you would give to them?
Yeah, like Kickstarter, it might not be the platform for you, but it is like probably the most legitimate and official looking one. So it's a nice one to launch with. You can do Indiegogo. They tend to many different types of projects, but the traffic on Indiegogo is less like loyal to the projects. Whereas Kickstarter, there's a little bit more of a filter. So those backers, they tend to get promoted, and the traffic tends to convert better on the Kickstarter audience, regardless of the project. Um, for just for anything that has a good story, you're going to be relying on story and the video and the impact mission. And maybe you don't need that much money. Maybe any money is good money. Maybe it's sake of doing a proper marketing. I would suggest attaching a product to any impact mission, whether it be a visit, a tour, something physical that person can receive in the mail after having purchased, pledging to help you change the world in whatever way it is that you're changing the world. So I'll give you an example, like Rescue 2000 here. There are two brothers, Eli and Chris. They've built like 50 houses last year for Indonesians, and they had the trouble of like they wanted to do crowdfunding, and they wanted to go more public with larger donations, and I suggested making a piece of jewelry that someone would wear kind of as like a token of their appreciation, and that person would receive that piece of jewelry. um, I think there's different types of products that you can give away. But if you find something that kind of fits within your world, could be as simple as a T-shirt. But I think the more special it is, and maybe the higher ticket item that you could give away, you don't have to make something customized. It could just be something physical that they receive after having actually.
Powerful. And last point, honestly, video, not still images.
Yeah, make make a really good video. But you can, you can film it on your phone, like iPhone 14 Pro. I bought that specifically just to see if I could film Kickstarter videos on it, which I did. And I know lots of people have shot on iPhone for their Kickstarters. Um, I've spent lots of money on Kickstarter videos, and I've spent no money on Kickstarter videos, and they all will make money. I don't think the video quality, the video itself, the people are used to social media now, so they're used to phone footage. It doesn't need to be like an amazing cinematic video. I think what's more important is the story that you tell, and you know, telling a compelling story for your product, whatever it is.
And not too much text. Doesn't matter.
Um, yeah, technically, typically like large titles will perform better on ads and with audience. So people's brains, their attention spans have just dwindled. So uh, main thing for a video is just having a 2-minute video, even 3 minutes. I've done 145 and it still raised money. And then just having every single one of your product features or whatever you're trying to talk about as a large title in the video, just right after one after another, and then also putting that as the first thing in the campaign page that it's then reiterated below all those titles are ideally, if their video is good enough, they're just going to click the buy button. They're not even going to read the page. I don't know, how many people spend the time reading, depending on the price of the product. Normally, a good video, by the end of the video, people scan and then hopefully buy.
Yeah. Okay, over to you, brother Max. Hopefully, I didn't take your question.
Well, similar, but I think we can get a twist on it. So my question goes into the direction of activating niche communities and how you would, what your roadmap would look like to activate a niche audience when you have a soft launch of a product, a physical product. Let's say you have a supplement idea and you take this expat-driven community in Bali as your soft launch market. Yeah. How would you go out and about to activate niche communities to go and fund your project? And then on the other side, would you say that if you plan to do that here in Bali, is Kickstarter or Indiegogo the right platform to do it, or do you build a custom Shopify and then or a custom website?
It depends how much money you need. If you're not able to, if you have an obstacle of not being able to make the product without having a bunch, maybe you will have to launch a crowdfunding campaign. If you're already able to launch without it, then maybe Kickstarter is not necessary. You should already know how much your ad costs and CPA are going to be before you launch the kick. Don't need. Maybe you go straight to Shopify. In terms of targeting niche communities, if you have a very low budget, I would recommend like Facebook groups and Reddit groups. I've had like a couple campaigns where maybe it's only one or two Reddit groups accept your post, but that Reddit group might have like 1 million people in it. And I've had admins, they usually don't like it, so a lot of them will get removed, but you only need a couple. And sometimes if you contact the admin or you frame the post in a way that's not super promotional, people will like and comment, and those posts will stay up high. So I've had campaigns that have posted on like the videography Reddit thread, a Reddit group, and that has 600,000 people in it, and they're very very active, and people really liked it because the product was a lot cheaper than the competitor. There wasn't a lot of options, and that alone probably might have raised $100,000 for that campaign. So
I specify that since you're going very broad with like Reddit or Facebook groups, but Bali specific, right? Like, do you know any cases of crowdfunding campaigns where I bet that there are peoples with big email lists, just like either sitting here or sitting in the co-working space, right? Like one girl talking about mindfulness on Instagram and having a website, making vegan cooking videos, and she has 200,000 people on her email list, 50,000 followers or something like that. So, like, do you know any any brands who have been very savvy tapping into local communities and leveraging their audience in order to launch a successful crowdfunding campaign?
I don't know your product, so I don't know the context, but like in terms of hyper local offerings, that is a physical product. Is it physical or?
Well, I would play it both like a supplement company or let's say a new wellness retreat.
Yeah. So the supplement
Bali.
company that that's a physical item. So you could partner with UGC creators in Bali to make really good UGC content that then you could use ads to sell to the rest of the world. For the retreat center, it's very very local. So maybe you don't want to do a Kickstarter. Maybe you want investors, or maybe if it is a Kickstarter and you don't want investment, then you'd be targeting people overseas who are coming to Bali, and maybe you can offer a really good high ticket item, and maybe you only need 20 people. If your retreat product can cost 5, 10, 15, $20,000, you need 20 people to raise $100,000. So anything that's hyper local, you'll just have that challenge. And to answer your question, do I know anyone specifically? I don't, but the problem can be solved. I think it's a matter of the product and the platform.
Cool.
Thank you, brother. So if you pass the mic over here, so just it will work its way around. Vikram, you have a question? Okay, almost. We'll get to you. Brother Vikram, yeah.
Hi. I just wanted to ask you about the journey to raise the crowdfunding. You have been narrating that it's more towards the product specific. How different who wants to raise service space? Selling a service.
Yeah, if you're trying to pre-order the service and it's not like an investment, and you're literally trying to sell the service in advance, most software and services, they just don't typically do that well on Kickstarter, like in the shopping mall of Kickstarter for square foot traffic. But if you have a really large community, that that will give you the platform to interact with them, raise that money. So services, just in terms of foot traffic, you're not going to do that well on not the retail that regular traffic. But if you have the community, it can be a good interface collecting money. In terms of how it works, Kickstarter, you raise all the money. If the campaign is 30 days, I usually recommend 30 days. 3 weeks after the campaign closes, you get sent one wire from Kickstarter that is 5% deducted plus 3 to 5% processing fees, and it's one lump sum. Kickstarter doesn't really ask you anything after that. It's up to you, and as long as the customers are, as long as you deliver, Kickstarter will allow you to relaunch or whatnot. So technically, when you sell on Kickstarter, they're pledging to back your project. In the fine print, it says like they're not guaranteed to do anything. That protects you, but if they don't receive anything, then they're not going to let you launch another project. I've worked on a lot of projects. I've never not shipped anything. That's not to say that, depending on how much marketing you do, by the net you can, that there might be people that aren't happy when. So that's why definitely getting feedback on whatever it is you're selling first will help inform you, what you're promising to your customer.
Thank you, and we'll keep making that way around. And just while I got you, just pass it around. Guzman, thank you very much. So post content, if so, how regularly are you reposting?
I really don't think that social media is going to do much for your campaign. To be honest, typically it's like the pre-launch that matters. But if you don't have any traffic on social media, it's not really. It's like a drop in a bucket. It's not going to do it. I think you might, in some crazy world, go viral on TikTok or something. That is a possibility. I wouldn't invest in it, but I'd say just spending money on ads on platforms is. It's helpful to post so that people know that you're alive. You don't want to go ghost once your campaign launched. Like that's probably the only I would say, just to be and to look like. I don't think in terms.
Just before we get to this question, how's everyone feeling? I get. I'm laughing because I know what I'm going to say next. Getting a feeling, right, that the people, they kind of come thinking they're going to get, like just one or two things, and then they're going to make up their Kickstarter campaign and make $1 million. Then they've heard that it takes this. Oh, and there's that, this, and that, and this, and that, and this, and then you might have a chance.
To combat that, if you have something that you want to launch a Kickstarter for, but you're unsure, make a pair of socks on Alibaba and launch a Kickstarter. Find something else and launch a Kickstarter for that, and do a test before you put your baby on Kickstarter in front of the world. You can make a really cheap, easy product in China on Alibaba that's customized, and maybe you pick something that sells well in Kickstarter. Make a little video on your iPhone, make a campaign with ChatGPT, and try it out. The worst case scenario, you're gonna make $20,000 and have to learn how to ship it. But you can pretty much get like that's the worst case scenario.
Thank you, because I could just sense that people here are like, God dang, so much. People started off like this with a smile, and then people were like, good, but now they're back up again because they know there's an easy, lowest hanging fruit. My brother, over to you.
Hi Eli. I've got a couple of questions. One is, how do you get on We Loved? Have you been on We Loved?
Yeah, the project we're running right now is a Loved project. Her name is Laura Feinstein, but she's not going to work there. Whoever the next person is, I have to stalk and find that person. Yeah, so too late for you, but I would, yeah. We're like, well, we have that contact no more. So whoever the next person is, we're gonna have to stalk them on LinkedIn and email them somehow.
That's the best way.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think the client that I'm working with right now, they were just loved, but finding out who that person is, the gatekeeper, and then just harassing them is probably your best bet.
Yeah. How do you stay out of the devil's dip?
I don't know what that is.
Where it dips.
Oh, okay.
Does everyone know what he meant by the devil's dip?
I misheard that at first. But.
Yeah, so he's saying that. Yeah, so saying it's okay. So he's saying that when you launch a campaign, right, and then this is happening.
Yeah, that's
right. So
yeah.
it's not a good thing to be there, right? So how do you stay out of that?
You're not gonna be able to it's just natural because when you're launching the Kickstarter, usually the offer is always really good at the beginning. What you can do to counteract that is just not offer the best offer at the beginning, because what will happen is if you go crazy at the beginning and maybe it's like day one only, it's like 70% off, and then you kill all of those deals afterwards, they're all just going to sit on the side like rotting food, and everyone's going to come to your page for the rest of the campaign and be like, oh, well, I could have got that, and that tends to actually hurt. I personally don't like doing that. Depends if you're trying to have a fire sale and just get rid of stuff or desperate, but I wouldn't offer day one deals for that reason. It kills conversion. But you can't really ever defeat it. But Sweep widget is a really interesting tool that I've used. It's basically like an online contest widget that people will compete with in the contest to get a free whatever, and I will launch that a week after the campaign's launched, and try to offer a good deal so that it basically entices people to share and give emails for points, and there's a scoreboard, and I've used that to boost the middle and bring it a little bit less of it, and then you kill it a week into the campaign so that those people, they know who the winner is before the end of the campaign, and then the rest of the people you retarget, say, oh, sorry you lost out, but you will back us on Kickstarter. And that has worked really well. I've done that with some products that are flashier. They'll have 5,000 people sharing on Facebook for $59 for them. Other than that, maybe Reddit, maybe Facebook.
And Would you
ads.
keep the funding goal low to get to the top? So
Yeah.
say you need $2,000 and you set it at 5,000.
Yeah, I always like make my funding goal basically nothing, regardless if I need like 100,000.
So in other words, if you need 100 grand, you'd never say that. You say I need 10 grand.
Yeah, you say 10. If you need just divide it by 10. You know, when I launched one campaign, they needed 60. That's what they thought. It actually cost 260. But they raised it, so great. But they also spent all the money. But I think we put like 11,000. That if you don't need any money, I just put the goal as like $1,000 because you'll hit the 100%, and then the algorithm will just be like, oh, this, and then also your percentage looks insane. The more money people back, it's like 10,000% of this project has been pledged. So yeah, definitely keep it low.
What happens if you don't reach your 200,000, for example, for manufacturing?
In life or on the campaign?
On the campaign.
On the campaign. Well, in life, you wake up crying
Yeah.
every night, which happened to me. But no, you just don't get the money. I mean, yeah, you don't get the money.
Do you give the money back? Or?
No, so to be clear, when somebody purchases on Kickstarter, they still have the chance to cancel that pledge.
Yeah.
That money does not get charged until the end of the campaign has closed. So if that pledge is not hit, like if your goal of 10,000 at the end of the campaign, it'll just.
But I mean, if you've hit it, the
Yeah.
5,000, but
Yeah.
you need 100,000.
Well, if your goal is 5,000, then you will get whatever money has been funded.
And then you'll have to carry on raising, actually manufacture the product.
Yeah, I mean, unless afterwards you can hit up those people that gave you the $5,000 and say like, hey, we need another $90,000. But yeah, the caveat to having a low goal is that, yeah, that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So if you need 100 and you say it's 10 and you only get 20, yes, technically you'd have to refund all those people. But trade-off is that like I've never seen a campaign say that they need 100,000. So normally people want to see high confidence, low risk, right? So if you need 100, really you need 100, then you need to have money to. If you need 100, you should spend 20. I wouldn't be thinking like I have to have $100 or this will happen and not spend any money on marketing.
All right. So what we're going to do, I know you had a few questions. Put the mic behind you. We'll continue this one a bit later, but we're going to. I love the questions though. By the way, they're awesome questions. Carol, you're on.
How did you tell a right story for your campaign?
Well, you can tell the story yourself with a video. So if it's not you, you need a storyteller to tell your story. You should be able to just tell that story to someone in conversation, and by the end of it, that person should have a smile on their face and understand what you're selling, and hopefully, either be interested or practically, making a great video. I think starts with writing a really script that's to understand.
Can you go through how to tell a story? Actually put in your.
Well, what I will do is in the first 10 seconds, I will very clearly basically try to sum up exactly what they're purchasing. So it's not like, hi, my name's Thomas, and I really have this great vision. It's like, imagine if you could go anywhere with your running shoes, blah, 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 blah. Like the first sentence should just be the log line of the entire commercial. Ideally, people don't need to watch more than 30 seconds because most people won't. So fit everything in the first 30 seconds, and your retention usually won't go past. Make it a 30-second video, not a 3-minute video, and then everything after that 30 seconds is, additional time. In terms of like, storytelling, just being authentic and communicating to them what they're getting and not really, you don't want to make it seem like risky, and you know, it's up to you to be truthful, but you know, making it convincing and impactful is
We're gonna begin to wrap this one up, but any other questions from the person who has not asked a question yet? So any over here, that corner seem to be okay. This corner, all right. See, I couldn't see. Right. Okay. Well, first brother, have a question? Yeah. Then we'll go over here after. Okay. So 1, 2, and 3. Great.
My question is, what do you?
so impactful. I call it a venture, but essentially, I like to think that I help people create businesses or launch their business stratosphere if I can. And me personally, I come from a kind of a creative background, so producer director background, and call myself a storyteller slash technologist. So I help people tell stories and help people build technology and leverage those two things so that they don't have to spend a lot of money and avoid the mistakes that I made, and hopefully take all of the learning lessons from all the other campaigns that I've worked on to help people as efficiently and strategically achieve their dream.
Brother Kamal. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for everything you've said so far. It's very insightful. Appreciate it. What would you do if you've already launched a campaign and you're not necessarily in the middle of it, but maybe a couple of weeks in and you're just now hearing all of this?
I told you to wait. I didn't. I didn't. That's a lie. Should have waited. Never said that.
I mean, I've talked to you, so I know a little bit about your product. Or I think for you, I would probably revise your video, productize the larger ticket offerings that you have, because you know, if you might only need 20 people to pay you $1,000 to. It's gonna be a lot harder to get like 1,000 people $5. So I would really aim for those people, and those people will also end up likely being the people playing the least, pay you the most, and end up having the best long-term relationship. That's you're basically quasi finding investors, but you know, you're recruiting them into your world and offering them a trip into your lifestyle. And I would make your video and product offerings convey that.
Thank you.
One more question. Somewhere over there? You know, just before that last question, what I'm becoming aware of, right? My own preconceived ideas, right? Which is whenever I thought about crowdfunding, in my head was like thousands of people putting in $1, you know? Thousands of people putting in $10. Just from what you've just said, like before, you know, some of these products that you're talking about, not a crowd in terms of thousands or people. It can be 10, it can be 20 putting in a lot. So then, just talking to myself now, I don't need to be limited by this view that it can really be very much targeted towards just a few high net worth ones, as opposed to me. Worth is a lot lower. Interesting. Yeah.
Sure. So, hey, Eli, I'm
Hey there,
answered
stranger.
this already, but I potentially have some products that I would want crowdfunding. I don't really have a ton of time, as I understand. I have an agency. I wanted to partner with. How would it? What sort of timeline I could expect?
How do you work? How do you work with clients?
Yeah, that's a good question. How do I engage with people? A lot of people come to me just looking for advice, which I'm happy to give. I, you know, have so much time, but I love to help people, and I love to learn from people. And you know, even if you don't have a lot of money, or you maybe your product isn't the right fit, I can tell you that, and I can also give you your if you have a great product and a lot of money, send me an email. But most people will be in the middle. And I think just talking to me, and I can tell you quite quickly, like, how things could work for you, whether or not you do it yourself, or you do it with me, or you do it with somebody else. I can tell you what has not worked and worked for myself. I said, come to the other meetup, and you might learn a little bit more. In terms of getting started, if you have a great business, a great product, and a decently adequate budget of a couple $1,000s even, you can launch a Kickstarter that makes a good return. How quickly that happens is up to your time and resources. The more money you have, obviously, the more resources time you have. But I think it all starts with a good product. And
Thank you, brother. Great question. Okay, so I think that wraps this question episode. Look, just want to thank everybody. Remember, so SpeakuP Monday, episode 470 tonight was about crowdfunding. Again, it's very important, especially in places where maybe it's difficult to find funds. So I think you've brought some really important points, Eli, as I knew you would, right? But really valuable points. I think that those people which are either looking to start, maybe will have, if they watch this episode back, will have a much better idea of what they should be doing. For those who are halfway through or might have time to change video, kind of upgrade it a bit, and those who maybe have had a bad experience, probably get an idea of why it didn't work for them, right? So in the last question I'm going to give to you, and just to think about it, is there anything else, given tonight's topic, that you'd like to say? And then just remember to remind people here which date you'll be doing that free knowledge share here at Tropical Nomad for those who are in Bali, right? So you've got a few minutes to talk about that. So everyone, next week show, you can join the WhatsApp list, which is over here, and join a WhatsApp group. It's a one-way bulletin, updated once or twice a week, giving you one-way information on what's coming. Right, that's number one. Number two, we started a Tabanan community that some of you know about. Tabanan is a beautiful regency here in Bali. Yeah, very biased. So it's around 300 plus local government, stakeholders, foundations, charities, property, so on. And it's about how do we come together, Indonesians and foreigners, to make responsible decisions. So if you're thinking or you're interested in Tabanan community, please feel free to reach out to me personally, only about Tabanan. So if you want to put anything in the group that's not about Tabanan, then you've come to the wrong group, right? So keep that in mind. Remember that the last 290 plus episodes have been recorded. So if you want to find those, then go to YouTube, SpeakuP Monday, Robert Ian Bonnick Speak Monday. The playlist is SpeakuP Monday. You'll find all those episodes, which are fantastic, right? So definitely check that one out. Remember what we do, we're a gateway Indonesia for foreign companies and local companies to grow within Indonesia. We're basically a business architect across 10 different market sectors. Part of what we do is ensure that the cultural alignment. That's also why I said 700 plus cultures, 500 plus languages in Asia. Local market, one of the most difficult, one of the most complex challenges that you'll probably face. A lot more difficult than setting up a company. That's where we come in. If we can help anyone here, let us know. Happy to be of assistance. Finally, thank you to Tropical Nomad, Brother Guzman and Hadis, who's around here somewhere. Thank you very much indeed. Round of applause, please, for Tropical Nomad. Round of applause for our guest, Brother Eli, who's looking for an answer to the question. Please give a round of applause. Finally, a round of applause for yourselves. Thanks for coming from Ubud and all over Bali for this particular episode. Make sure you stay behind. The networking is where the gold is. Right, so thank you very much for coming, everyone. Woo.
you.
Welcome, my brother. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Brother Castor. So, finally, Brother Eli, thanks for coming, my man. It's taken us 3 or 4 years to get this done, but it's been worth the wait, and really appreciate what you do because it unlocks a lot of doors for a lot of people. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Robert. Robert was the first event I went to on day one when I landed in Bali, and the first picture I think I have with anyone from Bali. Which, yeah, he's like, let's take a selfie. I was like, okay, cool, you're my new friend. Didn't see him again for 3 years, but now here we are. He's a popular guy. But thanks for having me. Yeah, love this event. Love networking with people, and what I do, I just like to help people. So if you don't have a lot of money, like I said, definitely I love learning and being asked questions and whatnot. So to connect with me on WhatsApp or Instagram or through the website, it's impactfulnoa.com. And if you are a business that you are ready to launch and maybe you might need my help, if it's not the right project for me, I can definitely connect you with other people, whether video or marketing or other things. So I am here from September to May every year. I'm going back to Canada in 3 weeks. I'll be having 2 more events, one here on the 26th, 12 till 2, and one on the 23rd, 3 to 5 at Nebula. Probably be a smaller group, more of a circle. Maybe it'll just be me and you. I don't know. So definitely come and touch base then. And I would say if you want to keep asking me questions or just connect with me after, or add me on WhatsApp and fire away. Become friends.
Round of applause, everybody. Eli, thank you very much. Woo! Right.